It's the Trash Player League. Let's get it. Hey, what's going on, everybody? How you doing out there? Welcome to FLCN. We are presenting to you the Trash Player League once again. Week 10 is in the books, so that means that we are moving on to week 11. It has not been sunny in Philadelphia for me here, and it hasn't definitely been sunny in Alaska. I think right now, what are y'all in? Are y'all in that 6 months a night right now? Because it certainly feels like it.
We definitely are, and I am definitely feeling it both in Alaska and in fantasy football. This 3-loss wins. Well, the 3-loss streak is not ideal. I got to get a win this weekend, or I'm just gonna have to put a ski mask and take somebody's players because this is not going to plan. This is not going to plan.
Rickey said he's going to turn into ski mask the slump guide if he don't get this W. And right again, we are 3LW presenting you another loss. Sean is not with us today, but he also suffered the loss this week as well. So with that being said, we're just going to do what we do, which is get into these post-game matchups. And as always, that means that it's time for the 3 and out. So without further ado, let's just get into it. So, like I said, Trash Player League, week 10 is in the books. And right now, let's go over what the scores were from this week. I Choose Violence went up against Lucky Lombardi and lost. Your player got hurt, lost to I Love Cam Newton. Boomer Bust lost to Reese's Buttercup team. Raw Dog Supreme lost to We Not From 7. Flip that. Raw Dog Supreme defeated We Not From 750. Big Trust defeated Corey's championship team. And Indie Animals defeated FTW. All right. This week, we're going to be starting with the Indie Animals versus FTW. Rickey, go ahead and take it away, sir.
Well, first and foremost, I didn't realize FTW scored lower than I did. So that's already a win for me going into this. As you can see, the score was 132.82 to 75.12. The first thing I want to start off with is both of these teams walked away with goose eggs. I couldn't believe that TJ Hawkinson didn't at least get one catch. I know he's normally, hyper targeted by his quarterback as the safety blanket, and for him to have nothing makes me wonder what the hell happened. I didn't get to see this game, so I'm not sure if he was injured possibly. I don't see any type of injury report next to his name, so that's not the case, but that goose egg sucks. If you go over to FTW side, you see he had issues with running backs. He had to go get it for Rashad Penny. I believe you had him last week. He did a lot better for you than he did for FTW this week, but it looks like they were even on that end. My biggest takeaway from this, though, for why FTW lost is his quarterback situation and his wide receiver situation. If you look over, he had A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown did absolutely nothing for him. It looks like he had
one reception. That's crazy.
Yeah, one reception for, 16 yards? That's not very much. That would piss me the hell off, and that would make me want to try to trade him as soon as I can. I'm pretty sure that's probably what he's thinking too. He's had a rough season. He's been very boomer bust, and that type of consistency will hurt you in the playoffs. As far as Matt Stafford goes, this is the second week in a row where he has shit the bed. They went out there and they got their asses destroyed by the 49ers. He did have some good, passing yards. 243 passing yards isn't that bad, but it didn't seem like he could get more than one touchdown in this game, and that hurt. I think the last couple of weeks, minus the week before, he's had 3 or 4. This week, that one didn't do much for him, and that's probably what sealed the deal. Looking over on Darius's end, Darius had a very, very complete game, minus that TJ Hawkinson performance. His kicker didn't do much for him, but, it is what it is with the kickers. Sometimes, things don't go your way, but everybody else did good. Stephon Diggs finally had a huge game, topping over 30 points. Ryan Tannehill gave him a solid 19. We had Keenan Allen actually showing up and, getting a solid 17, which is looking a lot better than he did at the beginning of the season. So, that's pretty much it. Let's take a look at the benches to see if there's anything FTW could have done to help win this. And there is not a damn thing he really could have done. It looks like, Jalen Hurts put up a better performance than Stafford, but it's not going to be enough for him to catch up for that difference. I think he lost by about, 50 points or so. So, yeah, looks like Darius picked the best players he could have picked. Nobody else was going to give him anything. But the biggest takeaway from this is Darius' best play that he had was, what's his name, Rashad Stevenson? That was a hell of a pickup the morning of. I believe he picked him up once he found out that he was going to be the starter, and it got him 27.40 points. So big pickup for you, big win for you. You definitely need it. That's about all I got. You got anything for this?
Yeah, the Stevenson pickup was definitely an excellent ad by him, finding out late that he was going to get the start, and that in him getting the start, it ended up being 100 rushing yards to 2 touchdowns. That's incredible. And that's excellent on that part. And finally, Stefon, like you said, Stefon Diggs finally shows up with a big game performance, and gives the Animals helps push them to the much needed win. So what else can you say besides kudos and good job? But now time to move on. And next up, we have Big Trust versus Corey's championship team. And Big Trust scores 120.80 to Corey's championship team's 98.82. Okay, right off the bat, the first thing that I noticed was that Corey's championship team decided to start Myles Gaskins, and I thought that was a little bit odd. Even though Baltimore has been not so great, I probably wouldn't have went with that here, given that you had a complement of backs going into this week. But we'll get into that later. And from there, it just doesn't get any better. Like, this was just a down week for all his performers. If Lamar Jackson isn't performing, then you're definitely not getting anything out of Marquise Brown. And that pretty much what happens when you have tandems, man. You live and die by these guys, because if they're not performing together, then that's just how it goes. Essentially, none of this win for Big Trust has much to do with what Big Trust was able to do. It has a lot to do with what Corey's championship team wasn't able to do. Because on the flip side, Big Trust, he didn't get a lot from Tom Brady, which is what he usually gets. Myles Gaskins Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, they perform decent enough, but both of them are performed underneath their projections. And this was just something Corey's championship team was not able to take advantage of. But let's look at the bench and see if anything could have changed their fate. And right away, what we see here is that there is a lot that could have changed the fate of Corey's championship team. Like, this was a case of him just starting the wrong players this week. Do I blame him for not starting A.J. Dillon? Absolutely not. But Aaron Jones got hurt mid-game, so then it turned into the A.J. Dillon show, and he scores 26 points. The only thing about that is that A.J. Dillon just the week before did have a 13-point performance as well. So it's kind of up and down on what he's going to do. But I probably would have trusted him a little bit. I don't know if I would have trusted him more than DJ Moore. So I don't blame that selection there. But the selection I do blame is not starting Antonio Gibson or J.D. McKissick over Myles Gaskins. You got them both back this week. And so one of them should have gotten the start for you instead of Myles Gaskins here. I understand that they were going up against Tampa Bay, but the fear that Tampa Bay was striking into teams early in the season about running no longer stands because teams have found success running the ball as the season started to progress. So I do not understand starting Myles Gaskins here. That would there is no excuse for that. But that was part of the reason why I wanted to make the trade is because the guesswork. Even if you were going to start one of them, which one was it going to be? Like if you went with J.D. McKissick, you would have been wrong. And Antonio Gibson gets 21 points and on a supposed bad shin. So these are the things that what caused me to want to make a trade that could have worked out for both of us because it eliminates the guesswork for me and gives you added boost at running back. This week you decided to start the wrong running back and it cost you the victory. You have anything to say about that, Rickey?
I agree with you as far as the running back selection. I think he should have played both Washington football players. The reason being is I don't know if he personally got the news that they got back one of their star guards. What was his name? Brandon Scherf or whatever. Mm-hmm. Once I heard that he was coming back, I figured the run game was going to do better or just quarterback play would do better. Once you have a star guard back that can keep you protected, one of the two is going to happen. If they trail behind, McKissick would get some points. If they don't trail behind, Gibson's going to have a big game. So that bit of information, I hope he gets it to his ears so he can make better decisions. Gaskin is someone I would only play in a situation I have a bye or an emergency. He's not someone I'm starting over Antonio Gibson ever. So with that one, I'm a little surprised he made that one. And again, from last week when we had to talk, I would have sat Lamar Jackson. I know a lot of people are saying you're crazy for that, but that Miami Dolphins team has gotten better back at defense. And we all know Lamar Jackson doesn't do good unless he's forced to come back from behind this season. I don't know why that is, but any games that he has where he's playing against a good defense and they can't really score either, he's usually low scoring. So this is the perfect time I would have played Kirk Cousins in this, especially seeing his opponents. But, I mean, you live and you learn.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You live and you learn. Big Trust does come away with the victory from here. And
I will say this about Big Trust team. I wonder if you had any type of nervousness going into him because that Tom Brady start off to that game was very bad. He started off with about 2 interceptions. They didn't know if Godwin was even going to play until last minute. Aaron Jones got hurt. I know he's going to fight back on this, but he got really, really lucky this week. A lot of things fell in his lap because him playing against most other or probably wouldn't have went this well on any other given week. So you got lucky on this one, Tobias. You don't want to hear it, but it's the honest to God truth.
Hey, man, Tobias doesn't want to hear a lot of stuff, but it is what it is, man. You just got to let these guys talk and talk themselves into a hole. But anyway, we just going to move on and go on into the next team. The next team we have is Raw Dog Supreme versus We Not from 750. Take it away, sir.
All right. Well, going into this game, you see the score is 112.24 to 90.64. Raw Dog Supreme walked away with the victory. The first thing I want to point out is the quarterback play. This is the second week in a row. Both of these teams have had shitty quarterback situations. Last week, we not from 750. I believe Aaron Rodgers was out due to COVID. He had to play Baker. That turned out well for him. This week, he went ahead and gave Rodgers the start, and that didn't look too good. 10 points is something you never want to see for a quarterback. At the very least, you want your quarterback to put up about 20 points or so. Now, switching over to the other side with Raw Dog Supreme, I know he was excited to get Russell Wilson back, but once that game was over, I'm pretty sure he wished he benched his ass because this performance was terrible. Russell Wilson threw about 2 to 3 interceptions and got him about 4 points. You could have had Myles Gaskins at your quarterback position and did better, which is sad to say. Other thing I want to point out is We Are Not from 750 really needs to look into trading possibly for some wide receivers because Donovan Peoples-Jones and AJ Green are not doing it. To combine for at least 4 points total, that's the main reason you lost. You probably could have picked anybody else. We'll go to the bench in a moment to see if you had anybody else, but those are the biggest reasons why you lost. This is another event. The person on the left-hand side, which would be Raw Dog Supreme, just got a little bit more luckier. One switch of a wide receiver could have had this looking a lot different from we are not for 750, but a win's a win. I think this makes game 7 in a row for Raw Dog Supreme on a win streak. So toodles to him. Let's take a look at the bench and see if there's anything else that could happen. Ooh, and right away, that wasn't a damn thing we're not for 750 could have done. I don't know why he's holding on to some of these players. Rob Gronkowski isn't it. Devontae Parker isn't it. And as far as I'm concerned, at this point, Baker Mayfield, you might as well just drop him because you got through the bye week for Aaron Rodgers, I believe so. So you should be able to ride him out. So you might really want to play the waiver wire hard this weekend, get you some better pieces. On the other side, I guess there wasn't really much that Raw Dog Supreme could have done for the quarterback situation. Carson Wentz didn't really do anything, but I think that's because the run game took over for that game and, Jonathan Taylor got him all his points. But that's all I got for this.
Yeah. The only thing that I got to say about this is that I do know that earlier in the week there were some rumors about people looking into Joe Mixon. And if you were to let go of Joe Mixon, seeing how you do have 2 capable running backs outside of him, that would have possibly given you the person that you needed to carry you to a victory, because you need wide receivers and you have a running back that can give you that can get you value. So you holding on to this running back instead of going out there and seeking the value you need to bolster your team, that's on you. That's the greed factor of not wanting to let go of something to get something. And you should have done that. In fact, you probably should have done it a little while ago, but it is what it is. And that's the only thing I have to say about that. So moving on, next up is Boom or Bust and Reese's Buttercup team. And Team Boom or Bust, who changed their name from Team Lancelot. I never understood Team Lancelot name, but Boom or Bust was definitely on the bust side this week. Boom or Bust scores 104.04 to 122.04. Reese's Buttercup team absolutely puts on a performance against Boom or Bust. And it all starts with Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes gives her 46.24 points this week, which is amazing because just the week before, he gave 11. The week before that, he gave 15. And the week before that, he gave 5. But he comes back roaring this week against Las Vegas and scores 46.24. And on the Boom or Bust side, he does have Tyreek Hill, who gets 27.50. And so he was the benefactor of some of those Patrick Mahomes points. But when Patrick Mahomes is slinging it around to everybody, then Tyreek Hill, you not the number one, you not the exclusive guy, you're just a body out there. And it just wasn't enough to help Boom or Bust here. Mike Williams once again falls short. He was the darling early for the Chargers, and now it seems like things have gone back to the way that we know and accept them to be, which is Keenan Allen is now the guy once again. Mike Williams only gets 7 points here, and just last week he fell short as well, only getting 7 points in the. So for the last 4 weeks, he has been sub double digits. In 2 of those, he was even scoring even 5 points. So not a good look for Mike Williams. Will he return back to form? Who knows? And moving on, another thing I want to point out here is that Boom or Bust is still starting Mike Davis. I don't understand it, but if that's where you are, if you have to start Mike Davis, then chances are your chances of winning is pretty bleak. On the flip side of that, Damian Harris did not play, and he gives 0 points. 0 points to Reese's Buttercup team. And yet, somehow, this victory was never within reach of boom or bust. This is the kind of stuff that people talk about when we say Reese's Buttercup team is lucky, because how is that possible? You get 0 points from a player, and yet you never had to sweat it out, not for a second. So kudos to Reese's Buttercup team. It's always better to be lucky than good. Last point, Green Bay, 19-point performance from their defense. Absolutely amazing. This is probably I think this is the second highest point total that we had this season from a defense. And you can't ask for anything more from a defense than that. So let's take a look at the bench and see if anything would have changed their fate. And look at that. Even on the bench, there's just still points pouring out for Reese's Buttercup team. 16 points for Conklin. You have 11 points from Callaway and another running back with 11 points. So she just had a plethora of guys that she could have drawn to, and on the flip side of that, not so much. So Boomer Bust takes the L here, and Reese's Buttercup team continues her dominance over her older brother. Well, you have anything for this?
The only move that was made on Boomer Bust's side that I was like a little bit intrigued by is, I wonder what made him play the Tampa Bay defense. Like, regardless of what you want to say about Washington's quarterback situation, Tampa's secondary is really, really poor, and that guy is not afraid to fling it. So I would have hesitated on that one. Maybe he didn't get the information about them upgrading back to a star guard, but I definitely would have put Carolina against Arizona versus Tampa, seeing that they still have a rookie quarterback playing everything. That's just me, but we'll get to talk to him. I know he's probably regretting that Sutton play too, because it seems like since Jerry Jeudy's back, Sutton is going to be absolutely not a factor.
Yeah, that Sutton play is disappointing, but I understand the Sutton play given the opponent. Philadelphia has basically been free points for everybody so far this season. Anybody that they played, they've basically given it up to. And this week, magically, they show up. So that's how it
Fair
goes.
enough.
Like quarterback,
We'll see.
Yeah, like we'll talk about it. I guess we'll talk about it eventually when we get to my game, but quarterbacks have been over 80% against Philadelphia. So, and if quarterbacks are over 80%, that means wide receivers are eating. So I understand the play. Moving on into your player got hurt for I love Cam Newton. Your player got hurt scores 84.38 to 143.74 from I love Cam Newton. Right here, right away, the first thing we see is that there was a quarterback that gave negative points. A quarterback gave negative points. Like, let that sink in for half a second, people. Like, that shouldn't happen. And on the flip side of that, you have Dak Prescott, who just gave a mealy, terrible performance the week before. Actually, not even that bad. It was 21 point performance. I guess it was worse watching it than what it was on the fantasy side. But Dak Prescott, he comes roaring back after a terrible loss last week, scores 30 points, and right there, that's a huge difference. And it's not a lot you could do from there, especially when you got a guy like Cooper Kupp, who had 11 receptions for 122 yards. Cooper Kupp is the fantasy football MVP so far this season. That's just a simple fact. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He continues his dominant performance, and there's just no answer for it on the other side. You have Deontay Johnson, who gives 13 points. He tries his best, but it's not enough. Amari Cooper, who only able to give 9, and Jerry Jeudy, he's only able to get 11. So when you have Cooper Kupp, who was one player, adding up to be more than 2 of your receivers, it's not good. And hey, that Myers play that you did not like, Myers shows up with 14 points this week, practically 15. So he comes around. Dalvin Cook does what Dalvin Cook does. And I guess the last thing I really, really want to point out is that Williams comes alive with 100, who is a running back, by the way, but he comes alive with 9 receptions, 101 receiving yards, and 1 receiving touchdown. So interesting stuff. Let's look at the bench and see if anything could have changed these two teams' fate. And yeah, I don't know. I can't run the numbers in my head right now because this is a big disparity in score, but there is quite a few points here on the bench. San Francisco gets 16 points versus the Rams. I can't fault you for the start there. Like, would you necessarily expect that? But I wouldn't look at anybody crazy for starting San Francisco's defense either, because although their cornerback play is terrible, their line is still really good. And let's see, you have Hunter Henry here with 19 points. You went with Freiermuth over Hunter Henry. That was a toss-up, except for Hunter Henry. There was no Jonnu Smith blocking him this week or absorbing any targets. So it's an up and down thing with Hunter Henry. Just take the good with the bad. And Rashad Bateman, I just, even though these points are here on the bench, I will say this, even though these points are here on the bench, I personally don't have a problem with any of the starts that was made. It's a toss-up. You could have started them either way. You could have flipped it and started everybody that was on the bench, and I still wouldn't have had a problem with your choices here. So it's just, you just so happen to start all the wrong people this week. And on the other side of that, now, he started all the right people. All the people that are on his bench didn't do anything for him, or they did less than what the people he actually started did. And that's just the story of this game. Rickey, you have anything to say about your matchup?
There's a lot that I could say, but when it all comes down to it, I lost. There wasn't anything I could do with my quarterback giving me -32. Even if I took the highest points off that bench and slid them in where the lowest ones on, that quarterback play just wasn't acceptable. This is another week that I lose more so because of my quarterback than anything. I really have to figure that out. Hopefully Joe Burrow comes back next week and he does what he needs to do. As far as my bench is a little bit trickier than you think. I actually picked up the San Francisco defense and Robbie Gould Monday. I had the empty spaces, so I picked them up after I already lost the match because of the matches coming up the previous week. So that changes things. Finding out Big Ben had COVID Saturday night before just threw me for a loop. It was like, all right, I could switch these people. I couldn't even switch anybody out. Rashad Bateman, I already played. Emmanuel Sanders, I just can't trust them because the Jets have been pretty good with shutting down wide receivers. And to be honest, he still wasn't the play there. Just wasn't my week. Charles whooped my ass, though. Well, I'm sorry. I love Cam Newton. I don't want to take away from your, glorious name change for him. He just whooped my ass, plain and simple. It was rivalry week, and he wasn't fucking around. As I predicted, Jacoby Myers got his damn touchdown on me. And the funny part is he didn't even get it from Mac Jones. He got it from the backup quarterback, Brian Hoyer. So it was just God going, you know what this is. Boom. It is what it is, though. Shout out to Charles. You got your win. I still hate your guts for beating me. Catch you in the playoffs.
Yeah, man. It is what it is. And that is quite insightful from you to know that what happened in those situations about Rashad Bateman already having played on Thursday. So that does make a lot of sense why you started Deontay Johnson despite Mason Rudolph being the quarterback. And just outside of fantasy football thing, like I despise Mason Rudolph so fucking much. And like I hate the Steelers for keep trying to make this shit happen. Like he sucks. Stop playing him. Like you have Dwayne Haskins on your roster. I would much rather play Dwayne Haskins than fucking Mason Rudolph. Like you guys gotta let that go. But back into the fantasy football world, we are going into our last matchup of the evening, which is I Choose Violence versus Lucky Lombardicus. Take it away.
The names say it all. After this loss, I would have chose Violence. And if I'm on the other team, I'm one lucky SOB. As you see, the score is I Choose Violence 102.64 to Lucky Lombardus to 115.20. The first two things I want to point out is the differences in wide receiver play. As you can see, CeeDee Lamb had one hell of a game. I know that had to sting. You being an Eagles fan and him being a Cowboys fan, that's something you don't want to see. CeeDee Lamb goes off for 28 points. That's a lot for a wide receiver. That's damn near perfect. Then to follow that up with Monday night with him trailing behind you by, I think it was about 30 points. And for Deebo Samuel to come with those 30 points by the damn 49ers on top of that, which is Sean's team. I know that did not feel good at all. Interesting play that I saw you come up with, and I understand the reasoning now for it, was the Teddy Bridgewater play. I saw you pick him up as a quarterback. I was a little confused by that, but once you explained that Philly's been letting high percentages go toward quarterbacks and completions, I understand the reasoning behind that. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. I know the week before Teddy had a hell of a game. This week he didn't. What did he get last week? About 25, 30 points 21? Or something like that? 21?
And so, yeah, so 21, and he was supposed to have a beautiful matchup this week. So
yeah, for some reason though, when you're streaming quarterbacks, if they have that one good week, the next week is usually a fucking shit show. I can tell you that from personal experience with Matt Ryan. The previous week he gets 30, and this week he gets negative 30. So yeah, just don't stream these quarterbacks. You got to draft the right ones and just keep a good backup.
Except for when it's my go, I'll let it go. Continue, though. Continue.
The only other thing to really point out is the tight end play. Both of you guys really didn't pick up the right tight ends for this. I understand your reasoning for Knox. He was a touchdown machine before the injury, but it didn't happen this game. And on his side, Gesicki, I know that must have been promising Thursday night, seeing him go into Sunday with a 0 already on there, but it really didn't matter when you have CeeDee Lamb and fucking Deebo Samuel going off. The only other thing I know that hurt your team a lot was Cordell Patterson's early exit with the ankle injury. That had to hurt because he's been holding you down since you got him off the waivers, to be honest. So maybe about 5 weeks, 5-6 weeks. So for him to go down this week. Since week 3. So yeah, about 5-6 weeks. That had to have sucked. Yeah, that's all I got for the actual main game. Coach has a hell of a team. It's boom or bust for real, and right now they are booming. There's not much you can really do about that. Let's check out the bench. So going down to the bench, there doesn't seem like there was much that Lombardovich could have done except for play the Dallas Cowboys. And to be honest, that would have probably pissed you off even more, just seeing the Dallas Cowboys give him 2 30-plus points. People I know on his end, he's smiling and laughing. And yeah, I'd have to call him some choice words that's not, for the show. But looking over on your side, there wasn't a damn thing you can do. And with, Kyler Murray still being injured, that doesn't help. On the plus side, though, it is good to see that you got James Robinson back. He had a good game, and you don't have to worry about, hoping that Carlos Hyde does something for you, but it is what it is. Lucky Lombardis is lucky again and goes away with another win. I think that takes him to what, 8-2?
Yes, it does. See, and yeah, like you said, like I didn't have to stream quarterbacks except for the starting quarterback that I drafted that was supposed to be my staple has been anything but my staple. Like it's Kyler Murray, and Kyler Murray has done what? As like he's done he's given me 8-point performance, 14, 18. He's given me some bad performances here. And then he's given me and then he's been injured for the last 2 weeks as well. So starting Teddy Bridgewater was supposed to be a layup, and it wasn't. And the only person that I would have started over Teddy Bridgewater this week is Derek Carr. And Derek Carr is sitting on the bench of I love Cam Newton. So it is what it is. I looked at the waiver wire, and there's quite a few quarterbacks that outperformed Teddy Bridgewater this week, but all of them had matchups that you wouldn't have found nearly as favorable as Philadelphia, given what Philadelphia has been giving up to quarterbacks so far this season. And like you said, but even with the Teddy Bridgewater injury, I mean the Teddy Bridgewater stuff, Cordell Patterson injury is the one that truly hurt me in this game. Cordell Patterson has been my staple, my go-to guy every week this season. And I lose him in the first quarter, and that was pretty much it. That was a wrap for the game for me. From there, it seems like Deebo Samuel just went absolutely apeshit. So that's how it goes. Lucky Lombardicus. He's not only lucky, but he's also good. So that's two things that goes against me here, and I took a L. But that is the end of our matchups that we are going over for week 10. And now we see exactly how it is. But I do want to take a time out to look at the current playoff landscape and see if anyone has locked their playoff positioning so far. So far, this is the playoff landscape. Lucky Lombardicus will be getting the bye if things continue as they are. Raw Dog Supreme will also be getting the bye in the first week of the playoffs. Big Trust would go up against Indianimals if they were to start today, and FTW will be going up against Reese's Buttercup team if it was to start today. But look, according to the standings, no one is an official lock just yet. We still have 4 weeks in the season, and apparently you could still end up not in the playoffs with what is left in this season. So
interesting.
So yes, very interesting to see. So there we don't have a lock yet. I think if Lucky Lombardicus wins this week, he will officially have locked his playoff positioning. And everybody else would still be trying to move forward. All right. So now that is out there and that is over, now it's time to get into the Week 11 pregame matchups, see who's playing who and what we think what each person will do against their opponent. Yeah. So let's start off with Reese's Buttercup team versus FTW. Okay. Reese's Buttercup team, who is 5-4-1 and currently in 6th place, goes up against FTW, who is 6-4 and in 3rd place. Currently, they have Reese's Buttercup team losing to FTW by a score of 123 to 138. She is an underdog by over 61%. And now let's just look at what they currently have in the matchups here. You got Patrick Mahomes going up against Jalen Hurts. He decides to start Jalen Hurts this week against New Orleans defense. And Patrick Mahomes going up against Dallas defense. Dallas has shown to be susceptible so far, although they had a good performance against Atlanta, but it is Atlanta. Adam Thielen going up against Green Bay. All right, so looking at it here, I do expect FTW to have a bounce back game. I do not see AJ Brown having 2 weeks in a row of a shitty performance. If Alvin Kamara is back this week, that will be a big deal for FTW. And the only thing I question so far right now is the Marvin Jones start here. I probably wouldn't do it myself, but we'll look at the bench and see why he did that. Do you see anything so far in this lineup that you like or don't like?
I don't like the Jalen Hurts start, but I understand why it's going. Philadelphia recently switched over to run first, and New Orleans is the run stoppers for the most part. Their secondary is not that great, but if you're trying to run on them, you really don't do too well. I don't really care for the Michael Pittman start either. With Jonathan Taylor running over everybody, he hasn't really gotten a lot of shine. And Buffalo's defense is really good against both. So that's like, a questionable start. This running back situation I don't like.
Let's take a deeper dive at the Michael Pittman thing here. Okay, so you see what you're saying here. He did not get much here, but he's been decent. He's been a little bit more than decent over the last 4 weeks. So, and on average.
For the last 4 weeks, yeah, but as you can see, he's getting about the same amount of targets the last 2 weeks since they got Taylor back. And in addition to that, you also have T.Y. Hilton back as well. So it's kind of tricky.
That's
for me, at least.
That's understandable.
Then for the running back situation, I just don't trust it. Swift hasn't been getting the touchdowns. I believe since week 2 since week 2 or so, Detroit Lions haven't got more than 2 touchdowns. So without those touchdowns, Swift looks kind of iffy. You can't rely on him to just constantly just keeping getting receptions and keeping you in the game that way. That's like a gamble that I'm not willing to go on. Then with Alvin Kamara, who knows if he starts, and if he does start, how well will he actually do? You don't want to take the risk of injuring that. So I don't know. Those 3 players right there before stand out to me and make me feel a little uncomfortable for them, but we'll see.
Okay. Now let's look at the bench and see if there's anything that we would have rather go with. Well, right off the bat, like I said, Brandon Cooks, it seems to be quarterback proof and player proof and all that. So I would automatically be starting Brandon Cooks over Marvin Jones without question. I would blindly play Brandon quarterbacks over any third wide receiver that I have in my lineup. And on the flip side of that, it looks to me like she's starting all the people that I would start if I was in her position. Yeah.
The only one I think I would change is I really think I would change Zach Ertz and put in Conklin. Conklin's been getting it done with Kirk Cousins. He's been a safety blanket. Plus, the matchup just looks a little bit more favorable, to be honest. The Seahawks in Arizona is tricky because it's a divisional game, so you never know what's going to happen. The same can be said for Minnesota and Green Bay, but I just like the Conklin pick a lot better than Zach Ertz right now. Zach Ertz really hasn't done anything since playing against Houston when he first got there. Other than that, it's been pretty mediocre.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. Now, does your opinion of Zach Ertz starting, does that change if Kyler Murray is back this week?
If Kyler Murray is back, that does change a lot, but not by much. I still have to see it because we do know he has an ankle injury and he's been still nursing a shoulder injury that he got earlier. So if you can't run and can't throw at full, or it's just any questionable, it makes me just very wary about it. At least we know Kirk Cousins can run and throw at 100% of what Kirk Cousins does. So it just makes me feel a little bit safer.
Okay, understood. Next, next matchup we have is
one more player, if you don't mind. If I was FTW, Brandon Ayuk, I would honestly play before I would play over Marvin Jones, only because that Jacksonville defense is still Jacksonville. They have been getting better, but Brandon Ayuk has been getting a lot more looks over with San Francisco as of recent. I know this week wasn't the best one, but they didn't need to give him the ball because they were destroying the Rams.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so next matchup we have going on is We Not From 750 versus I Love Cam Newton. We Not From 750 is sporting We Not From 750 is sporting a record of 2-7-1 to I Love Cam Newton's 4-6. So far, they have We Not From 750 as the favorite here by 55%. He is set to score 127.76 to 121.41. Now, let's look at it here and see why they have it that way. And then so far, what I can see is that I Love Cam Newton does not have Cooper Kupp this week. And without Cooper Kupp, that does change things for I Love Cam Newton's outlook just a bit. The only issue here on the flip side is that We Not From 750 absolutely must do something about this wide receiving core. Allen Robinson is like, this projection might as well be trash. Like, because I don't even expect them to hit an 11-point projection because of what Chicago has not been able to do through the year so far this season. AJ Green, that could be a viable play if Kyler Murray starts, but you do not want to be relying on AJ Green this season, or just period. Like, if you're relying on AJ Green, you need better receivers. And going further down, the big thing here is if Rob Gronkowski plays, and if he's healthy, if he's actually healthy, that's a big deal. I do not see Rob, especially given that Tom Brady is coming off of a terrible performance. I see a lot of hyper targets Rob Gronkowski's way in the end zone, and I see Tom Brady determined to get into the end zone a lot, given that he is coming off of a performance that he wished he could have back. But that all depends on if Rob Gronkowski is healthy, and taking that gamble with the Monday night game, if Rob Gronkowski is actually going to play or if he finishes the game. I don't know if I would feel comfortable enough taking that gamble. Is there anything you see so far that you would like to comment on?
Yeah, I still don't understand why he's playing this Jacoby Myers shit. Like, it got cute for you last week, but you got to get rid of him. Kenny Golladay as an option for wide receiver seems very desperate. He hasn't performed well all year, and that team's so up and down. With the, I believe, what's his name? Saquon Barkley should be rejoining the team, so I expect, him to get all the targets, to be honest. They've done it with Devin Booker. I'd be scared as hell playing Dalvin Cook because we don't know what's going on with all the off-field stuff that they have. We don't know if he's going to be playing this week. And I'd be terrified of Darrell Williams because I hear that what's that boy's name?
Gore?
The other running back. The other running back for KC.
Gore?
Yeah, he's supposed to be coming back. No, not Gore. The other guy. The guy.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yeah, he's supposed to be coming back. So I don't know how the timeshare splits with that. So I'd be a little bit worried. Yeah, there could be a lot done for both sides. The only one that I will say We Are Not From 750 might have an advantage of, Allen Robinson, I like the play. They recently got back one of their star guards, Justin Tevin, I believe his name is. They'd had the whole bye week to work with them. And I believe Allen Robinson had a good game the week before they went on bye. I don't know if you can check that or not.
5 here, 10, 4 for 68. I mean, if he had a touchdown, that would have been a good day.
So I think there's, they're finally starting to make that connection. Maybe that extra week of bye, let them open up the playbook and they get a little bit more, cohesion going or whatnot. So that's not too bad of a play, but those running backs better do a lot for him this week. I will say that.
Yeah. If you're gonna have all these running backs, then they better do everything. And looking here, like I said, he loses his most potent weapon and the most potent weapon so far this season for any team is Cooper Kupp, and he loses him this week. So, and currently he has Los Angeles Rams defense, who has been a good defense for him in his starting lineup, and they're on bye, which is another reason why this projection is what it is. So we do know that he will be dropping somebody to be picking up a defense because he can't start the Rams. So we'll see who ends up out there on the trash heap later. So anything else?
Nope. Have we been picking who's going to win these matches? I don't think we did.
No,
the last one.
No, I didn't pick the last one. We can go back to that real quick here. I think me personally, I gotta go with FTW here. Yeah. If barring like with the health and stuff, I like Alvin Kamara. I like the Alvin Kamara play. Travis Kelce, he can be a neutralizer a bit for Patrick Mahomes. So, and I like the James Hurts play. So,
I think for that one, I'm going to go with Reese. I just think she has the better matchups, especially if Damian Harris can come back and go against Atlanta. He should be able to run all over them. And the Patrick Mahomes, if they figured it out, if he's spreading that ball around like he did last week and he gets another 40 points up, that could be the game changer right there. So I think I'll go with her. And that Green Bay defense, man, I didn't know Green Bay had a defense like that. These last 3 weeks, they've been on a roll. They have definitely been on a roll. They've been getting her some big points, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
I want to say at least. Well, no, I guess not.
Yeah, and that was against Kansas City. But they've been holding teams to very low scores.
Interesting.
So they held Kansas City to a low score, but it did not reflect in fantasy numbers. So
interesting. I thought they were doing better than that.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see.
Well, yeah, we will see. So you went with Reese's Buttercup. I'm going with FTW because of the Alvin. I like the Alvin Kamara play. And right now, if Kyler Murray plays, I like anybody against Seattle, honestly. So
I'm not mad at it.
So, and next was We Not From 750. I don't know. This is a toss-up game. Who you picking? I'll let you pick first. Maybe you can switch.
I'm picking We're Not From 750. The running back game is a lot stronger, and he has Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback. That can go either way. He could either put up a lot of points or he could have a shitty game, to be honest. That's how he's been all this year. But at the end of the day, there's still Aaron Rodgers, Leonard Fournette, Joe Mixon, and Ezekiel Elliott for your running backs. That's a very strong course. And the matchups aren't that crazy. You got the New York Giants. You got the Kansas City Chiefs, which, they're not very good against the run, let alone like the pass game. So that's a double win right there. And then you got Joe Mixon going against Vegas. Vegas is kind of in between for defense. They're not too crazy. And Joe Mixon can kind of do it all. So they can get creative with him and get him some touchdowns. So I think I'm going to lean toward We're Not From 750. Plus, I like the defensive play. Tennessee versus Houston. That should be in Houston's favor. I think he should be able to at least get, 10 to 13 points?
Yeah.
Then just look at Cam Newton's side, man. I'm sorry. Jacoby Myers, Kenny Galladay, not knowing what's going to happen with the running game for the Kansas City Chiefs with, Clyde Lara coming back and Darren Williams. Yeah, It's not looking too good on that side. I don't like that. The uncertainty of Dalvin Cook's off-field situation, like it's a lot of things I got to question.
Yeah, Darren. The biggest thing here I find with I love Cam Newton is that Darren Waller has not been the guy that I love Cam Newton expected him to be when he drafted him. As you can see, I mean, this performance is injury, but since he hasn't done anything of note since week 1. Week 1, he came through huge. And then since then, it's been right in line with every other tight end in the league. So that's not what you expected when you drafted Darren Waller. So you look at Darren Waller, based on what we've seen so far this season, he does not strike fear. And if CEH is still out, Darrell Williams will be an excellent play because I think what they're figuring out is that they're not going away from their passing game, Kansas City. They're not going to start all of a sudden running the ball a whole bunch. But what they will do is what Andy Reid did in Philadelphia, which is I'm not going to run the ball, but I'm going to get the ball into the hands of my running back. And with that, and what we saw this past weekend, which was we can't see the reception numbers, so I can't tell you what his targets were, but we do know he had 9 receptions. So that's a big deal. So that could be a really big deal for I love Cam Newton here. But I do like the running back matchups on this side, especially given that they're favorable, all 3 of them. So I would have to agree. I think We Not From 750 will get his 3rd win of the season this week. All right. So moving on, you have Lucky Lombardicus versus Big Trust. This is the type of stuff that you want to see. 2 big dogs that are trying to vie for their playoff positioning going right up against each other. So somebody has to get knocked out. Somebody has to go down. And we'll figure out which one that's going to be. As always, Lucky Lombardicus empties out his entire lineup. So he tries to make it hard to get a gauge on what he's going to do here as he figures it out. But on the flip side, you do have Tom Brady, Mike Evans, and Chris Godwin going up against the New York Giants. This is a big deal. Tom Brady, I think, will do fine, but the Mike Evans, Chris Godwin play, if indeed Rob Gronkowski is back this week, and if Antonio Brown is back this week, one of these guys isn't eating. That's just a simple fact. Tom Brady does like to make sure that his friends get involved and that he takes care of his friends. And seeing how he's been taking care of Mike Evans and Chris Godwin this whole time since those guys been out, if they're back, he's going to want to play with his toys again. So I think one of these guys is going to fall short if Antonio Brown and Rob Gronkowski is available. On the flip side, but you do get Barkley back supposedly, and like I said, Tampa Bay has not been doing the greatest against against running back. So that could be a big deal, except for he's coming off an injury. So you don't quite know. Andrews has come alive so far as of late, I do believe. Nope, I was wrong. He did get a lot of targets the week before, but it didn't turn into anything because there was no touchdown, and he only caught 5 of them. But Mark Andrews' targets have been high, so that's a good sign for volatility there. And yeah, that's pretty much all. Let's look at the bench so we can get a real good idea for Lucky Lombardicus of what's going on this side. I do like the fact that you didn't start Devonta Smith here simply because New Orleans has one cornerback. They have one of them. And that one quarterback, I would imagine that he would be on the one really good receiver that the Eagles have. And him and Devonta Smith being a rookie and Lattimore being a little bit of a vet these days, I'm just going to edge it towards Lattimore. That matchup, if indeed he's on Devonta the whole game. You have any comments on what's going on here?
Yeah, scroll back up. Two things that are very alarming for me on Big Trust's side is what is up with him and Crosby? Like, I could not trust this Green Bay kicker. He has been missing terribly all year. I mean, that's a lot to put your faith in. Also, I'm curious to see what he's going to do with the Denver defense being on bye. I'm guessing him and we love Cam Newton are both probably going to be targeting that Miami Dolphins defense. So I wonder who has the waiver priority on that one. That should make things a little interesting, seeing that their matchup. On Lucky Lombardi's side, things got interesting today. Bosa is going to be out for the Chargers, and we still don't know what's going to go on with the TJ Warren thing. So I don't know how good Herbert's going to be. Field position is going to come into play. And Herbert just hasn't been doing too good. If I'm not mistaken, he's been like, around 15 points or so the last few games. He hasn't 13, been doing too crazy.
And 13 to 16. And like I said, people eat against Philadelphia, 35.
So, yeah, that brings up some concern, especially when your defensive line is kind of, beat up. And the defense hasn't been doing too good most of this year anyway. That makes me concerned for, field positioning. It could be a big game for Austin Eckler if he has to dump down. But still, with Deebo Samuel and CeeDee Lamb, they've been doing good, but they're still boom or bust. I'm pretty sure if you look at their stat sheets, it's like 1 week really good, 1 week really bad. So hopefully that trend continues so he doesn't do too well. But so far, this is kind of a hard one to pick. There's a lot of what ifs.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure who I'm leaning on this one.
Yeah. Well, CEH, it does show CEH IR scheduled to return, just to put that out there because we were discussing it earlier. I think I'm looking at his bench. I personally see him leaning towards Schultz this week, given that Schultz is going up against Kansas City's defense. And we've discussed how the Jets defense is deceptive. And him being a huge Dallas fan, I think the opportunity to start a Dallas player in a good matchup, he'll take it. So, and it all depends on what Russell Wilson comes back this week, if Tyler Lockett will be any good. Yeah, this is up in the air, man. I don't know.
This one, I'm going to say can go either way. Just from going what we're looking at, I'm just going to have to go with Lucky Lombardi because so far he's been winning, and it's hard to go against the person who's on a win streak. Let's just be honest. But to be 100% honest, I don't know who's going to win this, but that's not what we're here for. We're here to pick a winner, and I'm just going to go with the guy who's got the longest win streak next to maybe, Cedric, and that's going to be Lucky Lombardi. So that's who I'm going to lock in on for this one.
Okay. Let me just ask you as a side note here, though. How do you feel about this wide receiver tandem here of Mike Evans and Chris Godwin? If Antonio Brown and Rob Gronkowski is healthy or not healthy, how do you feel about them?
I'm going to be honest. If they're both healthy, I'm still not that concerned. I think they're going to limit Antonio Brown's usage so they can have him for the playoffs or is ready. So he might get in there limited snaps. And as far as Gronkowski's being there, I'm not too worried about him either because we saw him start like the week before last. And he got hit and he went and sat down. So I don't think he's going to ever be at 100% for this season. I believe he had a rib injury, and those just don't heal over 1 or 2 weeks, So I think they'll probably play him very limited. And if they do play him, it'll probably be for maybe some key block plays for some runs. So I think he should be okay. It's just a question of how high is that ceiling? I say between the both of them, I think they both at least have like what? Godwin maybe a 15-point floor, Evans possibly a 10 because he's very heavily targeted in the end zone. So, I mean, they're not too bad, but them being my part of my combo, it's a little scary. But Tom Brady's his bread and butter there, so he better hopes he gets at least 3 to 4 touchdowns from here on out, or things can get a little rough.
All right. So moving on into the next week, next matchup here. We have Raw Dog Supreme versus Corey's championship team, a 7-3 team, who basically he took his losses early and just hasn't looked back since. Versus Corey's championship team, who is 4-6, 123 to 132. They have Corey's championship team coming up with the W, and Lamar Jackson going up against Chicago. That's a very big deal. I like that. Jefferson going up against Green Bay. We'll see how that goes. Christian McCaffrey going up against Washington. That's a big deal. And Aaron Jones is now out, so you got A.J. Dillon going up against Minnesota. So that's huge as well. And Antonio Gibson going up against Carolina. It seems like he's starting all the right people here. The only issue is that Dallas Goedert is in concussion protocol. We do not know if he will have him available. But on the flip side, you have Waddle going up against the Jets. Moore going up against Miami, and these are two teams that like have deceptively decent defenses. So we don't know what we're going to see out of those wide receivers. Jonathan Taylor is going up against Buffalo's defense. Not the best. Kyle Pitts going up against all right. I've seen enough from the starters to make a decision, but let's look at the bench and see if there's anything that I would rather go with. And no, I like what they have going here for both teams. Do you see anything that you would rather start?
I think I would.
I'd probably even start Marquise Brown though, over DJ. Yeah, I would definitely start Marquise Brown over DJ Moore. That's crazy. I don't know why he did that. But okay.
This is one I'd have to go to the. You know what? I'm gonna be honest. I think Elijah Moore. I would sit and start Christian Kirk over. I just can't trust White. White Castle or whatever his name is, the quarterback for the New York Jets. I can't trust him against that Miami Dolphins defense. They've played against much better quarterbacks and they've gotten it done. So I just can't trust that play. I'd feel a lot safer with Christian Kirk, especially if Kyler Murray's back. We know that can be something to where he'll get a big play or he'll get some targets. And even with the backup quarterback, I believe Christian Kirk's been doing good numbers. I don't know if that's just because DeAndre Hopkins hasn't played. It's kind of hard to say.
He's been getting the targets, that's for sure. 8 here, 6, and he caught all 6 of them the week before 6. So he's been decent. And I think this game, DeAndre Hopkins still played or whatever. So, but yeah, his targets have been decent.
What I will say is I would be very terrified for a Raw Dog Supreme's quarterback situation. You got Carson Wentz going against Buffalo, and then you got Russell Wilson, who doesn't look like Russell Wilson, going against Arizona. Both of them have really tough defenses, so that's a scary one. I'm not sure if that's the one I might just say, I drafted you, so I'm going to play you, or if I just might hit the waiver wires. Like, that's a tough call.
Yeah.
Shit, this is another tough match, to be honest. I don't really like either team.
I got to be honest. It's not tough for me. It's not tough for me. I think if he changes DJ Moore, I think DJ Moore is the only thing that makes it look tough because DJ Moore hasn't been performing. But Marquise Brown has been for the most part. And given the fact that he has a really good matchup against Chicago, I do not understand why he would not start him. But maybe he wises up and decides to go Marquise later or after seeing this episode. But for the most part, I personally have to go with Corey's championship team, and allow me this opportunity to kind of try to sway you that direction. Lamar Jackson against Chicago, coming off of a bad performance, and now he has a defense that he can take advantage of. And not only can they take advantage of the defense, but they can take advantage of the defense where Lamar Jackson is really good, which is on the ground. They're susceptible right now. So I would want to go with Lamar Jackson. And then you have Marquise, who he could throw to and who has been a reliable target so far this season. But I really think the big deal comes down to Christian McCaffrey and A.J. Dillon. Washington defense lost Chase Young, so Christian McCaffrey is probably going to eat, and I'm pretty sure that Carolina will take advantage and try to run to that side where that substitute defensive end will be. And then, like I said, we've seen what A.J. Dillon could do with Aaron Jones on the field. Now there is no Aaron Jones, and they're going up against Minnesota's defense, who hasn't been jack shit all season. So and you've also discussed about how Justin Herbert just hasn't been quite himself in Pittsburgh defense, who is always good, is going up against the Chargers. So this is why I like Corey's championship team.
Well, let me counter those few points. I like how you brought in the Washington team and their defense being a little understaffed with Chase being out. But on the other side of that, you have Cam Newton going against Riverboat Ron. If anybody knows Cam Newton well, it's going to be Riverboat Ron. He was his coach for God knows how long, went to the Super Bowl with him. So he knows all the Christian McCaffrey and Cam Newton's tricks. So I think he would be able to put up a formidable defensive plan to go against them. I won't say shut down, but, stop them and make things difficult. On the other end, with the Lamar Jackson thing, both teams are having problems scoring. So it comes down to that whole sense again, is Lamar Jackson going to need to put up big points, or is he going to need to put up just enough points? Because it seems like when he only needs to put up enough points, he underperforms. Now, when he needs to go above and beyond because the other team's scoring like crazy, that's when Lamar Jackson goes off. Then there's the whole thing with Marquise Brown, I believe you were saying, to put him over DJ Moore. I question that now because after the last couple of weeks' performance with Rashad Bateman, is it time that Lamar Jackson is going to start going to the more reliable hands? Last week, Rashad Bateman did get 8 targets, and I think he caught like 6 of them, possibly. Whoa. So it's like, are they going to start going toward that now, especially since he's more acclimated with the NFL speed now that he has a couple of games under his belt?
Well, here you go. Despite the fact that Rashad Bateman did get those 8 targets, Marquise still had 13. He had 13 targets. He just didn't do a whole lot with the 13. And then the week before, he had 12. And Rashad Bateman was also, now granted, that was the first week he came back from injury, but he was also available that week as well. So it looks like so far the target share isn't going away from Marquise Brown at all.
Fair. We'll see. I get this one. I will say I have to lean toward Corey only because on paper, just looking at it, he has the better team. There's too many what ifs on the opposite side for Raw Dog Supreme. But to be fair, this motherfucker keeps figuring out how to win. I don't know if he sold his soul to somebody or something, but he keeps making the right waiver moves and he wins. This one, though, I'm going to go with Corey. Just on paper, he has the better team. Like Justin Jefferson, Christian McCaffrey, A.J. Dillon getting all the work. How do you go against that? Lamar Jackson. On the opposite end, you just have Elijah Moore and Kyle Pitts. Yeah. You have a questionable D-Hop. So, yeah, I think the smarter choice would just go with Corey's championship team. Hell, I think even Raw Dog Supreme would probably pick Corey in this situation on paper, if we're being honest.
Yeah. And moving on to the next matchup here, we have your player got hurt versus Indy Animals. Okay. So, friend against friend, I guess, foe this week. Nick Chubb Is he still on COVID? Is he? Do you know if he's coming back or not?
I think he should be cleared because he got his earlier last week, so his 10 days should be up. I would expect him to be back.
Okay, so you have Nick Chubb, Stevenson. That all depends on if Harris plays, if he, whether or not that's a viable thing to even do. And then you also have Ryan Tannehill going up against Houston. That's an excellent play. Houston hasn't been able to stop a nosebleed, and Baltimore defense going up against Chicago. I think that that's a decent play. They, at the very least, they won't give you -2 points. So that's a good play on that side. And on the flip side, you do get Joe Burrow back against Las Vegas, and Joe Burrow should have a good day. Emmanuel Sanders against Indianapolis. Let's see. He coming off a week where he only had 2 fucking targets. It's not good. Not good at all. But then you have Rashard Bateman. Rashard Bateman should have a good day for sure. Najee Harris. Najee Harris is probably your best play that you got going on here. Hunter Henry, I like that as well. And Jacksonville can't do shit besides run the ball. So, honestly, looking at it, it says 50-50, but if Nick Chubb plays and if Damian Harris is still injured, it's not a 50-50 play here at all. This is definitely leaning towards Indianapolis, in my opinion. How about yourself?
I'm going to be honest. I'm probably going to lean toward Indianapolis myself, as sad as that sounds. Big Ben is still going to be in COVID. He won't get past the 10 days, and no one so far has got double, negatives for this COVID report. So I got to deal with Mason Rudolph again. That's why I have Amari Cooper and Deontay Johnson on there. The Amari Cooper thing, I just don't know what's going to go on with that. CeeDee Lamb gets hyper-targeted no matter who they had, even week 1. He got hyper-targeted in the beginning, and then afterwards they gave Amari Cooper a few touches, but Gallup's back too, so that takes away with it. I just can't trust him at this point, as silly as that sounds. The Mark Ingram thing, I don't feel confident about because if Alvin Kamara is back, I don't know what I'm going to do for my running back situation. I'll have to figure that out. Maybe I can get something off the waivers. Maybe I can't. Just right now on paper, Darius has the better team. Even if he doesn't have Nick Chubb, he has Nick Chubb's backup, and that dude's been doing very great in his absence. And to be honest, I expect him to do even better if Baker Mayfield doesn't play because he seems to play better with Case Keenum. Maybe it's because the practice reps, they play together, so they know each other's habits better. My only hope is Jarvis Landry gets hurt, TJ Hawkinson has another shit show, and, Keenan Allen. Yeah, it's just not looking good for me. We're both got Indianapolis in this one. I'm just going to be 100% honest. I hope I can get a W, but it ain't looking good for your boy.
Yeah, so this one is probably unfortunately, is probably one of the more straightforward ones that we've looked at so far. I would possibly take a look at Amari Cooper, though, and see if I would be questioning about whether or not I want to start him, or rather whether or not I want him on the bench, because Amari Cooper with the potential against KC,
Yeah, I might start him because I didn't notice before that they said it's supposed to rain for that Buffalo game, so I might switch him out for that because I don't really trust it. And I'm really hoping that Miles Sanders can, come back. They said he might be scheduled to play. I saw him on the waiver wires, and I picked him up late. So hopefully he can come back, and that would help my running situation a lot more, especially with a questionable Mark Ingram.
Yeah, for sure. But for now, I would definitely be starting Amari over Emmanuel Sanders. There's no reason to get cute in that aspect. But even with that, I'm still picking Indianapolis. Lastly, we have I choose another friend versus friend matchup here. So it looks like this week is also a storied matchup as well. We have I choose violence versus boom or bust. I choose violence. There's a lot of questions on this side of the field here because you got Patterson, who is questionable, and we don't know if he's going to be available or not. Kyler Murray, still questionable. Haven't said much about that yet. And on the flip side, he has Josh Allen, who's just been on a tear. Tyreek Hill going up against Dallas. Mike Williams may not do much, and he's more than likely not going to get much from his running backs. But George Kittle going up against Jacksonville. I do expect some boom from George Kittle, Tyreek Hill, Josh Allen. Whereas on the other side, like the biggest disappointment this season has been Devontae Adams, who has been the number one pick on this team. And he's given 12, 10, 14-point performances, and he missed the game because of COVID. These are not things that you want to see from a guy that you draft number one overall. Yeah. So in this matchup, let's look at the bench. On the bench, there's Jamar Chase, who will be going into the starting lineup here this week. But Jamar Chase over the last 3 weeks the last 2 weeks since acquiring this fellow has been 13-8, and then he had a bye week. So over the last 3 weeks since acquiring the guy, he has been no better than starting Hunter Renfrow. In fact, he's probably been less than starting Hunter Renfrow. And again, it falls on whether or not AB actually comes back this week. Decisions have to be made, it seems like. But from what I'm looking at, I personally is going to have to go with boom or bust. Not a question. What are your comments of what you see?
Well, he has Mike Davis in his lineup. When you have Mike Davis in your lineup, I don't really have a lot of faith in you. That guy just isn't performing this year. I thought he was going to be more like who he was in Carolina, even with San Francisco or the Seahawks, but they're not utilizing him over there. So as far as I'm concerned, that's just like having a donut. And now that I'm saying that, watch him have the best fucking game of his life and get 30 damn points is what the crazy like that. But I don't see him doing much. Mike Williams just hasn't been performing, and I don't expect him to do it now. I think this is a lot closer than you think. I think your biggest issue is if Kyler Murray is going to play or not. And the easy fix for that, in my opinion, would be you picking up Mac Jones and having him go against who he's going against. I think that would be ideal. They've opened up the playbook. They're letting him play a lot more like how Tom Brady was. And if, what's his name, Ramondre Stevenson or whatever is going to go off, so far all of them have been dump-off passes to him running a touchdown in. So that might be someone you want to look into picking up. I hate to say it. Cam Newton might be somebody that you might want to look into with him coming back. He'll probably do dump-off passes to Christian McCaffrey, or like I think he's going to do, snake some of those touchdowns away. So it really just comes to your quarterback situation as far as I'm concerned. But the good news is Josh Allen's going against Indiana. They have a pretty solid defense, so they might be able to hold him to something, normal, like 15 or so. But other than that, I think it's closer. Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill, they're both boom or bust, so they cancel out. James Robinson has been fucking excellent. He's better than both of his running backs combined. Josh Jacobs hasn't been doing anything. I don't know if you noticed last week. He had maybe 16 rushing yards. They gave all the work to Drake. So yeah. I'm starting to wonder if he's going to get cycled out. I don't even know if he's somebody I even want to play. Maybe it was just a bad week because the game got out of the hand. But even still, Kenyon Drake's looking like the favorite for that backup coach at the moment. So we'll see.
It seems like what's going on is that they are very specific in their roles. If they feel as though they have to pass to get by, then Josh Jacobs completely falls out of the game plan. and they go with Drake. And if they feel as though they can run at all, then they still give Josh Jacobs carries. That's what it seems like so far.
And then Marquez Shepard. Like, come on, bro. Like, that guy's not a bad NFL player, but he's been having a worse leg. He started off really hot, but every time he gets on the field, he'll catch a couple of catches, and then he gets hurt. So it's like, is he really reliable?
Well, there's like I see all of that. Here's my issue though. George Kittle 2016 since being back, and that number is only going to continue to go up. Tyreek Hill, we've seen like that's a lot of boom possibility. Josh Allen, like pretty much has been all boom all season except for one single week.
Well, to be fair, look at who he's played. He's had Houston. He had a bad KC. He's had Washington when they started off bad. Miami started off bad. Tennessee.
He's also had 10. I mean, he's had a great matchups, yes, but he also had Tennessee. He had Miami, and then against the Jets, that's where it was more like a down to earth performance. So yeah, this could be a more down to earth performance for sure. But do I see him scoring less than like 25 or whatever? No. So I guess that's my biggest issue. Whereas Kyler Murray has given me an 8-point performance, given me a 14-point performance. He's given me an 18-point performance. Like I don't know. And Devontae, and like we've already discussed Devontae Adams and what his numbers have been. They have been anything but what you expect from a guy of his stature. So
fair enough. Well, you've convinced me. I'm gonna put my pick on boom or bust.
Yeah. Like these guys perform in the real life standard, they are performing. In fantasy standard, they are not. So which is what sucks there. But yeah, I'm going with boom or bust as well. So with that being said, let's get out of that there. All right. So that ends our matchups that we need to go over here. Now it's time to get into that last segment here, which is the power rankings. So now let's go ahead and look at the power rankings. Let's just go over what the current standings are, just so everybody can see where exactly they stand. Lucky Lombardicus is at number 1, Raw Dog at 2, FTW at 3, Big Trust at 4, Indie Animals at 5. This is the 3-way tie for the 6 and 4 teams, and then you have a 5 and 4 team at 6, at 5, 4, and 1. I Love Cam Newton at 4 and 6, Boomer Bust at 4 and 6. Corey's championship team at 4-6, and your player got hurt at 4-6. That's a 4-way tie there. And then it breaks up at I Choose Violence, who is 3-7. We Not From 750, who is in last, is 2-7-1. So Raw Dog Supreme has the largest win streak so far this season with 6. And now that has been shown, let's take it away, sir.
All right. Well, for the most part, things stayed the same this week. We have a couple of changes. At the top, we still have Lucky Lombardis at number 1. Quite frankly, look at the record. He's been winning, and it reflects in the power rankings. He's 8-2. Had another victory last week, and I'm pretty sure he's going to have another one this week. We have Raw Dog Supreme and Big Trust switching positions. I believe Big Trust actually beat Raw Dog Supreme out in points by exactly 1.5 points, which is crazy. Raw Dog Supreme defeating We're Not From 750 this week didn't really help him with his schedule bonuses. Rodney's team, We're Not From 750, isn't really worth much, so you get very little points as far as strength of schedule goes. So that kind of sucks playing him. He's at a disadvantage whenever you play Rodney because this team just sucks that much. Hate to say it, Rodney, don't take it personal, but that's just how it played out this year. Also moving up, I believe Darius's team, Indianimals, and BK's team, FTW, switched spots. Darius's team, Indianimals, beat FTW, and they moved up one, which would show the power ranking switch out. Darius is up now 1. And I believe the biggest jump for this week was by I Love Cam Newton. He moved up 3 spots. I believe he beat out, who was it, Corey that he played this week? I can't remember off the top of my head. Let me look real quick. Actually, no, I'm sorry. He beat me this week. How did I get that mixed up? I don't even want to remember that ass beating. But by him defeating me and Corey losing, he hopped over both of us in that tie. So that's pretty much it for the power rankings. Not much has changed. All the people that down below before lost some more, so that didn't really help the situation. And all the winners that we had continued to win. So things haven't changed much on my end. I'm pretty sure there might be differences in Sean's power rankings because it goes by points, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. I guess the only thing that I find interesting here is that when I looking at my team, I look at my team and I have a score of 12. I mean, the points for 1242.58. I Love Cam Newton has a points for 1242.04. Indianimals 1287 and Raw Dog 1252. And I just kind of laugh because it just brings to me that like my score is always right there within the realm of I could have beaten teams that particular week, but I always play the guy. I never played the guy that I could beat. At least I haven't within the last 5 weeks, which really sucks. So it's just interesting to see that where you never get that favorable matchup. My schedule has been pretty shitty, I guess.
Yeah, unfortunately, you've had those weeks of when you won big, and it was against lesser opponents. And when you lost, it's usually against an opponent that has a heavy win streak. So on my end, that kind of sucks for how my power rankings are set up. But at the end of the day, it is what it is.
Yeah, the power rankings don't matter. It's about getting the fucking W, and I wish I could get a fucking W. But right now, it doesn't seem like I could buy one, even if I wanted to. So... yeah, man, it's kind of where we at. But anyway, that is the end of this episode. That's all we got here for you guys. Thank you for joining us. Link, like, subscribe. As always, if you enjoy the content that you have been listening to and watching, we appreciate that like. We appreciate the comment letting us know that you enjoy it. And if this is something that you would like to see done for your fantasy football league going forward in the future, even if it's basketball, baseball, or hockey, we can do it all. Just hit us up at our Instagram, at our Twitter, or at our email. All of it is all the same. The Eye Test Network and the Eye Test Network at Gmail, or the Eye Test Network on Twitter, the Eye Test Network on Instagram. You get the idea. So all the same, thank you for joining us. Rickey, thank you for joining me in this episode, being a part of the crew. And with that being said, thank you. Peace.